すいません。運転手さんいませんか?
Silent Hill has come back before, and every single time, fans held their breath because the series has a history of promises that didn't land. Silent Hill F is different. It's not a remake, it's not a reboot, it's a brand new story in a brand new setting. And the question here at Adoogez is whether Konami finally got it right after years of getting it wrong.
他の道を探そう。
Silent Hill F is set in rural Japan in the 1960s, a specific time and place that immediately separates it from everything the franchise has done before. You play as Shimizu Hinako, a teenage girl whose quiet life is shattered when her town becomes consumed by something deeply wrongly alive. No major spoilers here, but the story goes places that will stay with you. Uncomfortable places, that's the point. The core loop here is classic survival horror. You explore a decaying, distorted version of this Japanese town, solve puzzles, manage limited resources, and occasionally fight things that probably shouldn't exist. It's deliberately paced. Slow by modern standards. And that pacing is a feature, not a flaw. This game is designed to make you feel uncomfortable in every quiet moment between encounters. Combat is functional, but it's never the focus. Hinako isn't a fighter. She's a teenage girl, and over her head, that's communicated in every combat interaction. Clunky by design, heavy, desperate. You'll avoid fights when you can, and survive them when you can't. Ammo and healing items are scarce enough that every encounter is a decision about whether engaging is worth the resource cost. The puzzle design deserves serious recognition. Silent Hill F integrates its puzzles into the world's logic in ways that feel genuinely unsettling. You're not solving arbitrary problems, you're decoding a town that is communicating something to you. Some puzzles require you to sit with discomfort before the solution becomes clear. That's rare in modern horror, and it's executed here with a real craft. The progression system is light and intentional. No XP bars, no skill trees, no unlockables to grind. Silent Hill F trusts the experience itself to be the reward. What evolves is your understanding of the world and the story. And by the time you reach the end, the things you saw at the beginning will mean something completely different. That's a form of progression most games are too afraid to attempt. Let's talk about the setting, because 1960s rural Japan is one of the most inspired creative choices in franchise history. The architecture, the clothing, the social dynamics of the era, all of it feeds into the horror in ways that feel culturally specific and deeply personal. This isn't a Western horror game wearing Japanese aesthetics as a costume. It understands its setting on a foundational level. The visual language of Silent Hill F draws from Japanese folk horror in a way that's completely distinct from anything the franchise has explored before. Imagery rooted in nature, decay, and things growing where they shouldn't. Flowers blooming through human shapes, roots that move like they're listening. It's a specific strain of dread that Western horror almost never manages to produce. And this game generates it effortlessly. Ryuki Shio7 wrote the story, and if you know his work from Higurashi or Umineko, you already know what that means. He understands that the most effective horror doesn't come from what attacks you. It comes from what you already believe about people. The story in Silent Hill F builds its most disturbing moments not from monsters, but from the behavior of ordinary humans under pressure. That's Ryukishi's signature. The psychological horror here operates on multiple layers simultaneously. The Otherworld sequences, the distorted nightmare version of the town, are not random. Every visual, every enemy design, every room configuration is communicating something about Hinako's internal state. Silent Hill has always done this, but F executes it with more intentionality than any entry since the original trilogy. Nothing is decorative. Everything means something. The sound design and Akira Yamaoka's score are doing what they've always done, carrying the emotional weight of every scene. Industrial textures, silence used as punctuation, music that shifts from haunting to beautiful to deeply wrong within a single track. In Silent Hill F specifically, traditional Japanese instrumentation is woven into Yamaoka's signature style in a way that makes the soundtrack feel entirely new and completely familiar at the same time. Adoogez doesn't soften this part, so let's go. The combat system, while intentionally clunky, sometimes tips from deliberately uncomfortable into actually frustrating. There are mid-game enemy encounters where the control limitations stop feeling like character design and start feeling like a genuinely bad time. There's a fine line there, and the game crosses it more than once. The pacing in the second act has a noticeable drag. Ryukishi 07's storytelling strength is slow burn revelation. But there's a stretch roughly 2/3 through where the game holds back too much for too long. For players already familiar with his work, it reads as confident restraint. For players new to his style, it risks feeling like the game has lost its own thread. It hasn't, but that section demands patience. On the technical side, PC players at launch experienced some inconsistent shadow rendering and occasional texture pop-in the more complex Otherworld sequences. Console performance was largely stable, but not completely clean across all platforms. For a game this atmospheric, any visual hiccup pulls you out of a headspace. The game works very hard to create. Patches have improved this, but verify your platform's current build. So, did Konami finally get it right? Yes! Silent Hill F is the best new Silent Hill game in over 15 years. If you are a fan of psychological horror that trusts you to sit with discomfort and rewards you for doing so, this is a buy at full price. The setting is inspired. The story is genuinely disturbing in the best possible way, and the atmosphere is everything this franchise was always supposed to be. If you prefer action-forward horror or need a faster pace to stay engaged, this game will test your patience, and you should know that going in. My final score is an 8.8 out of 10. A psychologically rich, culturally distinctive, and deeply unsettling survival horror experience that earns its place in franchise history and proves the Silent Hill name still means something. Here's what I need from you. Do you think Ryukishi 07 was the right writer for Silent Hill? Or did his visual novel style of storytelling feel out of place in a game this format? I genuinely want the real answer. Drop it below. And if you want reviews that never sell you a game you're not ready for, subscribe to Adoogez Real Takes every week. See you in the next one.